So we'll start our discussion on reactive oxygen species. Okay, so reactive oxygen species are chemically reactive chemical species containing oxygen. Like, okay, reactive oxygen species are. So they are reactive chemical species containing oxygen. We have peroxide, superoxide, singlet oxygen, alpha oxygen. So you know what is superoxide? So superoxide, it's O2 with a radical. Okay, it is superoxide radical. That is a poor radical. Then we have hydroperoxyl and hydroperoxide. So hydroperoxyl means removing an hydrogen from a hydroperoxide. So it is HO2. It is a strong oxidizing oxidant than superoxide radical. Then hydroperoxide, you know it is an oxidant. Of course, it is an oxidant. Then this diffuse across membrane. Then we have hydroxyl radical. This is an extremely reactive radical, and this diffuse only at a very low distance. Low distance diffusion is only possible here. It is very extremely reacting. Then we have this alkoxy radical. Then it is less reactive, but comparing to peroxyl radical, it is very good reactive. Like it is in between hydroxyl and peroxyl. That is alkoxyl. Then we have peroxyl, which is LO2. And then we have a singlet oxygen. Singlet oxygen is actually a powerful oxidizing agent. Okay. Singlet oxygen is, yeah, O2 1. So, reactive oxygen species are formed as a natural byproduct by the normal metabolism of O2. The important role is in hemostasis and cell signaling. Okay, so this reactive oxygen species are the byproducts formed by the normal metabolism of oxygen. So basically, we have few listed here: superoxide O2. O2 radical, then hydroperoxyl means HO2 radical, then hydrogen peroxide, you know. Then I'm comparing these three. Peroxyl, so hydroperoxyl is the strongest oxidant. Hydrogen peroxide can easily diffuse across the membrane. Superoxide is a poor radical. Then we have hydroxy radical, which is of course extremely reactive, but the diffusion distance is very short. Then alkoxy radical and peroxyl. Peroxyl is actually a weakest oxidant, but diffusibility is higher. Alkoxyl is in between hydroxyl and peroxyl. It is much less reactive than hydroxyl and highly reactive than peroxyl. Then we have singlet oxygen, which is an extremely powerful. So these reactive oxygen species are formed as a result of normal metabolism of O2. Now we'll see the reduction of O2. Now, how this? Generally, I said it is by the normal metabolism. Now, we'll see how specifically these are formed. Okay. See, the reaction of like first one is reduction. Reduction of oxygen gives superoxide. Okay, reduction of oxygen gives superoxide. What is superoxide? This is hydroxyl. So it is O2 with this. This is superoxide. And this is a precursor of most other reaction oxygen species. So yes, this is our superoxide. So it is formed by the reduction of oxygen. Oxygen on reduction gives superoxide. Now dismutation of superoxide. We know these is superoxides. This superoxides on dismutation, on protonation, we get hydrogen peroxide. This hydrogen peroxide partially reduced, forming hydroxide and hydroxyl radical. Hydroxide ion means OH minus and hydroxyl radical OH. This fully reduced, partially reducing to give this thing, fully reduced to give water. Okay. So this is the stepwise. It's just for your knowledge. Generally, I said it is formed by the natural metabolism of oxygen. So reduction of oxygen gives reduction means adding electron, right? adding electron. So that is gaining electron is reduction. So O2 gaining an electron gives O2 radical. That is our superoxide radical. This is actually it's not a very good powerful agent. So powerful oxidizing agent. Then this dismutation of superoxide. You know what is superoxide, right? O2 radical. On getting adding 2H plus ions to O2 radicals, on getting 2H plus ions, you'll get hydrogen peroxide. Now this hydrogen peroxide, it can partially reduce to give hydroxyl anion and hydroxyl radical, fully reduction giving water. Then environmental stress. What are the causatives or what controls this factors that controls the reactive oxygen species? The first major factor is environmental stress. Environmental stress, in a sense, UV heat exposure and all. This will increases the reactive oxygen species level, and this causes a significant damage to cell structure, and this is known as oxidative stress. Okay, environmental stress leading to the rising level of reactive oxygen species, which can cause cell damage, and this is known as oxidative stress. Then production of reactive oxygen species also strongly influenced by stress factors, that is response on plant, and these factors also increases the reactive oxygen species production, like salinity, drought, chilling, nutrient deficiency, metal toxicity, UV radiations and all. This can also cause an production increase of reactive oxygen species. Then comes these are also generated by ionizing radiation. So on summing up all together, we can say this heat exposure and UV cause an increase in this reactive oxygen species level. This causes damage to skin structure, and this is known as oxidative stress. Other than that, UV and heat exposure, environmental stress factors like response in plant, their factors are influenced by salinity, drought, chilling, nutrient deficiency, metal toxicity, and UV radiations. These also increases the reactive oxygen species production. Also, these are generated by the exogenous process, or the exogenous source for this conditions are ionizing radiations. Then what is the source or exogenous source? As I said, ionizing radiations. Exogenous source of production of these are the exogenous sources, these environmental factors, like yes, stress factors, ionizing radiation. These are the exogenous factors. Now coming to the endogenous sources of production of reactive oxygen species, that is inside cell, within cell. Okay, so here within cell and cell organelles, this reactive oxygen species are produced. Source for these are present within cell also. How or what is the source of this particular reactive oxygen species inside the cell? Let's see that one. Okay, so energy of cell, it is usable for ATP. ATP production is in mitochondria through oxidative phosphorylation, and this involves transport of protons across the inner mitochondrial membrane by means of electron transport chain. Okay, so in electron transport chain, electrons are passed through series of protein through oxidation reduction reactions, with each acceptor protein along the chain having greater reduction potential than the previous. Finally, last destination of electron along this channel is the oxygen molecule. So normal condition, this oxygen reduce, we will get water. But in 0.1 to 2% of electron passing through chain, oxygen is instead prematurely and incompletely reduced to superoxide. So this is actually, we are seeing a a source of production of reactive oxygen species within cell, endogenous source we are saying this. It is in between electron transport chain. Electron transport chain is, yeah, we are transporting electron by means of oxidation reduction processes and all. The point is complete oxidation or complete reduction of oxygen will give water. But instead of this complete oxidation, this prematurely and incompletely our oxygen is reduced to superoxides. Okay, this is actually happening in mitochondria. This is the first major important source of reactive oxygen species inside the cell. Then we have the second source is the electron transfer reactions catalyzed by mitochondrial cytochrome P450 system, which is in ovary and testis. There also this process, like we will generate reactive oxygen species. Actually, we'll see these two together in next video. Okay. So till here, I was planning to give an introduction for this reactive oxygen species.